markup, you'd be losing money.
No, we didn't do that.
Okay.
I ran that business completely different. And I started out that business with $500.
Okay.
And we drove by this Galleria that was opening. There were 42 stalls in there. And it was opening Monday. We drove by Sunday, and it was closed. And I said there was a big sign in the window, and I said to Mel, that's something I'd love to do. And he said, fine, but I want to put in your name. And I said, fine. And
what was the reason for that? He wanted to make sure that...
I guess.
That you should get the full benefit?
I would think that would be the reason, because he gave me everything for it. And I took the $500, I went to the swap meet with a cart, and I bought all the stuff, and opened up and I signed the lease on it, and I opened up the little thing. I had a 9x9 booth. I was top dealer out of 42 dealers the first month. I sold everything. It kept going back to the swap meet, and Mel had been trading with the Indians, and he traded cars for Indian jewelry.
Right.
We had that, and he gave me that to sell, and I wish I had that stuff now. And I got another booth, and then the booth in the front of the store became available, and I took that, and I took the walls out from 5 booths. And I was top dealer for every year I was there.
Can I go through each of those steps? Because the first thing I heard you say was you went in, you reserved that first booth, and within 1 month you were top dealer.
Top dealer.
Now, those 30 days, was there any time there where you were sort of thinking, oh my goodness, what will happen? I don't know if I'm really going to work.
No, I knew I was going to work. And I started a layaway there. Oh, and I know another thing I did. I started a layaway, and I decided I didn't care if they kept it for 5 years, because they would come in and pay on it and put another thing on layaway. And another thing, I was the only one that worked my booth. And everybody had a sign in their booth that said, please do not touch. I put a sign in it that said, come in, touch. I forget exactly, but those are the words. And then kind of like, make yourself at home, come in, touch, spend your time looking at my things. I forget how I phrased it. And I worked the booth rather than have the woman up at the desk in the front.
I've noticed that some people, that if you wish to see some of this, please go to the front.
I was there.
So you put a lot of hours in.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. Oh, I loved it. And then I'd go to the swap meet. Mel loved it. We went to the swap meet early Sunday morning. There was one in Tanca Verde, which used to be a great big field. Now it's all built up, of course. And there was the biggest swap meet in Tucson, and that's where I got everything. And then eventually they closed. And a big gym was going in there. And the people that had the gym came to me and asked me if I would like to, downstairs, the gym was upstairs, downstairs, if I wanted to put in an antique store, like it was, and run it. And I talked to my mother, and my mother said, don't you do that. She said, you'll be a slave to it. She said, and you won't have a life. And I thought that over, and I agreed with her. And I went and opened my own little shop.
Because you would have been a manager.
Working for someone else. Yeah.
Your mother was
smart.
A smart person.
And if there was a place coming available up the street, and I went ahead and I moved in there, little tiny store, and and I decided to put furniture in. And I went around and I bought furniture, and it had like a garage. It was just a little teeny store, but there was a garage in the back with a big door that went up and down. And in that little room, I stacked furniture, and the furniture sold like crazy.
That was how it was displayed, and people came in to look at it?
It was old furniture, and I would come in. a house coat with no makeup and my hair not done at 4 in the morning, and I would polish all that furniture and display it, and then I washed up, cleaned up, changed, and got ready and opened the store. Yep.
So you were doing your makeup and everything there?
In the store. And the store was really going great. And then two things happened to me. One was that I had 4 generations of Santo Domingo Indians come into the store. And they were in full dress. And it was the great-grandmother, the grandmother, her daughter, and then, you know, the youngest granddaughter. And they drove up in a brand new van, and they traded for rhinestone jewelry.
So you were flexible enough not to demand cash.
Yeah, I traded. And this was a really unique thing. And I got them big necklaces and crowns, and I don't know to this day what they were doing with all that rhinestone jewelry. But a friend of the editor of Elle magazine, are you familiar with that?
Sure.
Okay, goes all over the world, was in there, and I got a phone call from the editor of Elle. And she said, we're thinking of featuring your shop this October as editor's secret address, editor's choice.
How did you, because she saw this group coming in?
The story was so unique.
Right.
So I got a fourth of a page in Elle that said, I've got the magazine here. It said, Sandy Antiques, a trading post in the desert. And it was like lightning hit me. Amazing. I got so busy. And this is out of a store no bigger than this room, plus that garage in the back.
Wow.
I mean, literally. And then they were widening Speedway. And I had a choice to either close the business or they would move me. I had a choice, either they'd give me $20,000 cash, the city, or they would move me free. And I decided to move. And I moved into my big store, big store, and I had that fear. 2 things I did. If I paid $100 for something and I was offered $110, I sold it. I didn't care.
It's turnover. That's what you need, huh?
This is a renewable business. At that time, now you could never do it. But you could pick up antiques, and I knew my jewelry, and I could turn it over that fast, and there was no limit on a layaway, because people would come in. We told them 3 months or 6 months, whatever. It wasn't. There was no limit on the layaway.
If it took them 18 months, you would work it out?
No. We never took a dime out of the business. We put it back in because we could afford to do this. And it worked. And I did $1 million retail out of that little business. $1 million.
Wow.
I ran through there. I mean, that is unbelievable.
Well, it speaks to your method. You said that the conditions are a little different?
Oh, totally different. Yeah, totally. I mean, everybody works on 100% markup and then goes down a little. I didn't do that. We mark up 100%, or 400% if we've got a real bargain on something, but we never refused an offer. Never. And we were so busy. It was unbelievable.
So it's better to make a sale than to hold out for...
Absolutely. And then I did another thing. I wrote a letter to every single concierge in the radius of Tucson, and to all the managers of the hotels if they didn't have a concierge. And and I made out a brochure. And I had an article in the newspaper about myself too. And I put that in the side, and then I put the article of Elle magazine on the back of it, and I put that in the airport. And that was really very good for me.
Now, those are expensive to get into airports.
It paid for itself.
Yeah.
The newspaper was no good, and the phone book was no good, but that
was
brought
clever.
the people in.
Because as they walk off, they're looking, oh, where shall we go? Is there a zoo? Is there a museum?
That's right.
Oh, look at this.
That's right.
A trading post.
Yep. So, I'm trying to think what else. Anyhow, And Mel loved it, and then Mel ended up buying all the fine jewelry. He was terrific at it. And he had some buddies that had pawn shops.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought silver by the ounce.